In this lecture, we will address a point in design intent, something we would call design priorities. To explain what we mean, we are going to do an example and see how that could affect our models or designs. We are going to model this shape in two different ways. Then, we're going to change one measurement and see how that change is being interpreted in a different way between the two models. So let's go ahead and start creating the model. So I'm going to the top plane, go to sketch, and then I will draw a square. I'm going to have this side equal this other side, and I will have it to be 6 inches. And then I will apply an extrude boss feature for 1 inch. And I have my base square. And then I'm going to make the hole in the center. So I'm going to sketch, to circle, and I'm going to draw a circle. And I will dimension the diameter to be 1 inch. Now, what we are going to do differently between the two models is how we define this circle. So please pay attention to this. We're going to do our first approach of defining it. We want the circle to be at the center of the square. Since the square has a side of 6 inches, we can make this to the center by dimensioning the center of it to the side with a dimension of 3 inches. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go Smart Dimension. I'm going to click on the center, click on this side, and then have that as 3 inches. And then I'm going to click at the center again, and then click at the bottom side, and then have that set to be 3 inches as well. Now we have fully defined our circle to be at the center of the square. So I'm going to Features, and I'm going to do my cut. Through all. Okay. Now we have a hole in the middle of the square. Let's say afterward you decided that the base square should be 10 inches instead of 6. So you're going to change it. So you're going to the design tree under Boss Extrude, and then click on the sketch, double click on the 6 inches, and then change it into 10. Click OK. If you do a change and you do not see that change reflected here, you're going to notice there is a traffic light signal in the design tree. If you see that, you should go to the top and click on the Rebuild command, and that will rebuild the model with the changes. So I'm going to rebuild, and now you see the changes. So that's the first approach. Now let's start our second approach. So I'm going to start a new part. I'm going to minimize this, start a new part, go to the top plane, sketch the square. I'm going to have this equal this, and then I'm going to dimension it to be 6 inches. Go to Features, Boss Extruded to 1 inch, and then click OK. We have our base. I'm going to sketch on the surface. I'm going to do the circle now. Again, take note here because we are going to define the circle in a different way. So the diameter is 1 inch again. And now instead of defining it with dimensions, we're going to define it with pure relations. So I'm going to draw a line. I'm going to have that line for construction, and I'm going to draw it between the two corners. So I'm going to have this end of the line coincident with this corner, and the other end of the line is coincident with the other corner. And then I'm going to click on the center of the square, Control and click on this construction line, and I'm going to have that to be midpoint. Again, we have fully defined the circle to be at the center of the square. However, we did not use dimension, we used relations. So let's go ahead and extrude the whole. So I'm going to extrude cut through all, and then OK. So we have our model again. Let's go through the same situation. All of a sudden you have realized you want the side of the square to be 10 inches instead of 6. So again, you're going to change it. So you're going to the drop down menu in Boss Extrude, click on Sketch, and then double click on the 6, and then change it into 10. Click OK, and then rebuild the model. Now we have this. Notice if we compared the two end result of the two approaches, for the first approach, the hole stayed as 3 inches apart from the left and bottom side, while at the second approach, the hole remained at the center. Just a comment on this. None of the two approaches is right or wrong. It depends about your priority. Was my priority to have the hole 3 inches apart from the left and bottom side? If that's the case, then we would follow the first approach. Or was my priority to have the hole at the center of the square? If that was the case, then we would follow the second approach. So it all depends on the situation.